like them spinning tires, Walter?
Oh yeah, baby. Little Sunday morning spin. Alright, it's kind of funny. So you saw the video where I told you that I'm getting a whole bunch of rocker clatter. Well, the hood's up on the turquoise car. I found my clatter. I stretched the shit out of these rockers, bouncing off the rev limiter, which the Revnator works very well, I've decided. As you can see, I got one set of the rockers off. I thought maybe I had a cam going flat. There was so much clatter. So I disconnected the ignition and the fuel injection and then just spun the motor over and looked at every single rocker, and they were all going down evenly. So cam looks fine, and they all had pressure on the valve. All the rockers did. The rockers are just stretched the hell out. They're done. They beat the shit out of these things. Let's see. I gotta find one that's... Well, look at the... Let me turn this thing around. Alright, look at all this play. I mean, we're talking like 40 thousandths. You know, it's probably 35, 40 thousandths. These things are donezo. I stretched the shit out of these things. This car wasn't that noisy when I first fired it, but I don't know. After so many burnouts and rev limiters and all that stuff, they're done. They're stretched. And when you have that much clatter, or when you're losing that, I mean, look at that thing. When it moves that far, you're losing so much of the cam profile, because it takes the cam to push the rocker that direction, and then the valve spring pushes the rocker back the other direction. So you're losing your cam profile to all that stretch, or to all that play. So it was already taking my wussy cam and turning it into a pussy cam. So, yep, fixing this now. Well, I got the shimming all done to get the rockers to fit. That was a pain in the ass. So, but they're all shimmed, that way the roller is exactly on top of the center of the valve. It comes with a whole bunch of shims in the kit, and of course it comes, if you like, I got a whole bunch of medium shims. Well, it came with a whole bunch of thick shims, but couldn't use them, they're too thick. So I had to use the shit out of the medium thins, and I had to use some of the shims out of the stock rockers just to make the shit fit. But it's all on there. This side's good. So what I did is I mimicked the shims on that side to the other side, since, you know, they're the same cylinder head, just one's, you know, flipped reverse to the other side. So I shimmed it so that way I can take this one and just reverse it to the other side. So hopefully that fits. And I want to do a whole bunch of shimming, because you know, if you got to shim one in the middle, you got to take the whole rockers off, do your shimming, and put it back on. And it's a pain in the ass to put it on and off, because the heavier side of the rocker is on the top. So when you pick it up, all the rockers go and they all fall to the bottom. So what I was having to do was put the put the clamps down, and then hold, or kind of like squish it together on both sides to hold the rocker from rolling over, and then gently set it on without shit falling down in the motor. Pain in the ass. But now I need to get these rockers off so I can put the other ones on. And my new single plane intake manifold showed up, but I'm gonna have to do a little bit of porting to it so it matches the intake ports. I want to do a little porting on the inside, and see what else. Oh, I'm gonna weld up the heat crossover. So I'm gonna weld that up, and then I need to get the intake manifold down to my buddy's place so he can mill it, because these heads have been decked. So when you deck the heads, you know, the heads get shorter in height. Well, you have to make the intake shorter in height and also to fit it. So I need to do that. Yep. Anyways, let's get the old junk off. Alright, I got all the rockers installed. They're shimmed properly. Everything's set. I've already adjusted the lash, which is basically you turn down the well, most of you guys are car guys and you already know this stuff, but for the ones that don't, you turn down the adjuster all the way till it just kisses the push rod to where it gets rid of the zero lash. It just touches it, and then typically you go down a half to 3/4 of a turn, which I've already done that. All I need to do now is just cinch them in place. I could bolt this sucker together and fire it up. It should be so much quieter under the hood. Those stock rockers are clapped out, so it should be a lot quieter and make more power. These are 1.6 rockers, so it's going to add 30 thousandths lift, and it's going to add maybe 1 or 2 degrees of duration. So maybe it'll finally sound like a muscle car now instead of just nice and smooth. Plus, the old cam, the rockers are so worn out that I was losing the cam profile. I was probably losing 3 degrees of cam and probably around 30 thousandths lift. So these are probably going to add like 60 thousandths lift and probably add like 5 or 6 degrees of cam. So plus it's nice having stuff nice and tight, no clatter. These are a lot more precise. They're like $400, so it's not terrible. I would do it. I wouldn't use those stock junk anymore unless it's just a rock stock motor that doesn't really spin a lot of RPM. And if you buy a new set, of stock rockers, it's probably fine. These ones are just worn out. So, well, I'm gonna finish cinching these things down. Basically, just hold the adjuster in place with the Allen and tighten it up. You don't have to Hercules the thing, but you do want to. It's all back together. Well, I put just a tad of silicone around the gasket on the valve covers because, you know, they're cork gaskets and they've already been compressed. So just put a small line of silicone around them and hopefully they seal. If not, I'll be having to put new gaskets on there. But she's all bolted back together. Oh, I need to hook up the ignition real quick. I just disconnect the ballast so I'm spinning it over. It ain't gonna kick over on me. Alright, I've already spun the motor over a few times just with a screwdriver on the starter relay. The reason I did that, let me go ahead and hook up my, see, this is the fuse for that fuel injection. That way while it's spinning over, it ain't gonna, oh, bear with me for a second. That way while it's spinning over, it ain't gonna be spraying fuel in the motor. Alright, fuse is in. See how much clatter we got now. That clicking you're hearing, that's like the IAC motor. That's like adjusting itself or something like that. I don't know, it's always done that direction. Don't sound right. Sounds like it's on one cylinder. I got a plug wire that came off or something. Oh, yep. I do have one. Alright. I was like, it didn't sound right. It sounded like it's running on 7 cylinders. Alright, let's try that again. Tell you what though, the valve train was a hell of a lot freaking quieter. There, that's more better. Oh wow, it's so freaking quiet under the hood. No clatter, no nothing. Man, that sounds so much better. I don't hear nothing in the valve train. Nothing. injectors are louder than the freaking motor. So worth it. As soon as this, I'm hoping it sounds a little more mean out the exhaust too. Let it warm up, get up temperature, and we'll see what it sounds like. Alright, after it's at running temperature, it sounds like there's one rocker I need to do a little bit of adjustment on. But other than that, it's a far better improvement than those clapped out junk that was on it. It actually sounds a little better too. Kind of has somewhat of a maybe itty bitty camshaft in it now, which it does have a decent, it has a good street cam in it. But tell you what, these rockers made it a lot more responsive. Listen to this. This is from idle, just dead flat foot. You know, that's not revving it up to stab it. That's just like idle. Just gonna straight stab it. Yeah. Sounds way better. Sounds bassly now. It's louder now for some reason. Probably because it was losing so much cam lift that, I don't know. It does sound a little bit louder, and it does have a little bit more noticeable cam in it now with those rockers. Well, that's it for that. I got more shit to do. See if it's got any more poop. See what we're doing about. Oh, about 10 mile an hour roll and punch it. Yeah, that video got kind of cut short, didn't it? Yeah, because right when that video ended, motor started knocking like hell. So I just kind of dropped the phone and grabbed a gear and just lifted and just let it idle down. And well, about hour later of diagnosing, I have a bearing in my hand. This thing is done. So it spun. See, we got journals 5 and 6 are done. It spun one bearing, and then just, but this just didn't happen like right away. This must have, these must have been like borderline. These were probably going bad for a while, and it finally just at that last RPM band. I mean, I buried the tack on that thing, and the bearing just said, "Oh, I'm done." Well. Let's go underneath here real quick. Yep. So you can see we got the pan off. And we got, I think it was, 5. Yeah, okay, this is 5 and 6. So one side's pretty smooth. The other one, it's got a little bit of texture to it, but it's not bad. I mean, well, of course it needs to be polished, but I'm thinking maybe I can sandpaper that out. And fuck it, run it. So see how all of it. It's like borderline. Damn, I should just yank the motor out. Oh well. Shit. There's a car show this weekend up in Mesquite. I kind of want to make that, but that ain't gonna make that. So here's the other two bearings. You can see they had spun. See the back sides are all chewed up and it's missing little titties on the end of it. So those ones had spun, which means they got hot, probably from lack of oil, because it probably, when that bearing started coming apart, it probably filled up that oil galley. So then this one here just wasn't getting any oil, and so it just, yeah, that's most likely what happened. So as I sit here and contemplate, do I pull it? Do I sand it out by hand? Shit. Probably just gonna sand it out. Sand it and send it. Well, I was thinking that I would just go ahead and well, shit, motor's fucked. There's no. I was gonna try and just polish the crank up by hand, just with some sandpaper, but after sanding it down, my bearing clearance is going to be like 6-7 thousandths, so that's no bueno. Gonna yank this motor out. I'm gonna pull the crank out, get it turned, get new bearings for it, new oil pump. I'm gonna go ahead and switch the cam over to a roller cam because I don't know, it's better. So I mean, there's nothing wrong with this cam. It's just it doesn't have that cool, like, choppy, you know, muscle car sound. It just, I don't know, it sounds stock. So I just want to go with one size bigger, just one notch bigger, just so it has some kind of lope. I mean, the motor runs so smooth and it runs so strong. There's so much low and grunt. I mean, just throttle response is just instant, but it just doesn't sound muscle car-y. It needs to have a little more chop in that lope. So I'm just gonna go one notch bigger, one step bigger on the camshaft. We're gonna have this motor out tonight. I'm gonna go pick up Walter's and help me yank it out real quick. So we're gonna have the motor out on a stand. I'm gonna have the crankshaft out on the floor tonight, so that way tomorrow I can take the crankshaft down and get it turned, and then you know, I order the bearings and roller cam. We just upgrade. You know, I found so in that earlier video, all that clatter that you heard under the hood when I thought maybe the rockers just need to be adjusted. That wasn't clatter. That was a freaking rod. It was just so slight, it almost sounded like it. And then when I went out there and beat on it, it did it in. So, where was I at? Oh yeah. So we're gonna pull the crank out, have that out on the floor tonight. Take it down first thing in the morning, get it turned, bearings. I'm gonna order the roller cam for it, and then once the roller cam's here, I need to order. I got a set of push rods here that you cut to length, and then you press the input on, or the little ball end on it. So I've already got push rods. I had those for another motor, but I'll just use them on this. So I got push rods. I just need to get the cam, the roller lifters. Oh, and I have the single plane intake I need to put on here. So I'm gonna weld up the heat crossover, and then I need to mill the sides down because these heads have been cut. So I need to mill the sides down to make up for it. So I have the ports line up perfectly. And I'm gonna do some little bit porting, and then I need to paint the intake. And I'm gonna get a new oil pan because that oil pan is kind of butchered on the inside the way the baffling is. So I'm just gonna get a new pan and a new pickup. Oh, and I need to pull these lower control arms off and put new bushings on them. I mean, these had brand new bushings, but these weren't moved bushings. These were, I don't know, some other off-brand. It was in some little kit that I had ordered for something else, and I was like, oh, screw it, I'll just use it for this car. Well, they suck. They've already blown out. I mean, they got 800 miles on them, and the bushings blew out. Here, let me show you guys later. For sure this time. So this right here is the Numbers original motor out of the turquoise Charger. Oh, yeah, here we go. See, there's the number. I'm thinking, what the hell? Might as well, since that motor's messed up, you know, and I got another car coming, I might as well take the motor out of the turquoise car and put the original motor back in it, but then we'll stroke this one out. So I'm going to buy a stroker kit, aluminum heads, and then I've already got an intake for it. So we'll just go ahead and build this motor and throw it in the turquoise car since it's the original engine. Sounds like a more better plan to me. Yep. So I think a stroker kit for a 383 ends up being like a 489. So it'll end up being even bigger than the motor that's in the turquoise car right now. And probably around, like, I don't know, 500 horse will go. So that's just a thought. We're gonna start building this motor, and then whenever it's done, no rush, I'll swap it out for the turquoise car. But in the meantime, probably just gonna go ahead and fix this motor and slap it back in, because I could probably have this motor done in a few days. Out, fixed, done, back in, ready to go. Just waiting on the cam and just waiting on parts. So now I'm done talking and get to work. Actually, I'm gonna go to pick up Walter and go to Sonic, and then we'll get to work. So get the car almost off the drivetrain, K-frame, all that, all in one piece, and then the pump takes a shit. So I gotta get another pump. Damn it. I wanted that motor out tonight. Oh well. Alright, so this is kind of where I stand on the whole turquoise car deal. Well, trying to get the motor out last night, which I said I was going to get it out. We were just there. Lifted the body up off the motor, and then the ram blew apart on the engine hoist. So, got a new ram for it, so I finished getting the motor out. But I was thinking about it. Instead of just fixing, really all I got to do is just turn the crank, put new bearings in it, good to go. Bolt it back in, done. But I really want to upgrade the car to the overdrive transmission. And this is not the numbers motor to the car. The numbers motor to the car is sitting on the engine stand over around the corner. And I really want to get the original motor back in this car. So I'm like, I looked at this engine problem as like, well, this kind of just gives me the chance to just go ahead. Since I have to rip the shit out anyway, might as well just put the original motor in it with the overdrive transmission. And it's good. I will not have to pull the motor and tranny back out of the car again. So this is what I have done. I sold one of my Chargers, just one of the cars I had sitting up with my buddies. Sold a car, and I used that money to just deck out the original 383. So I'm like, well, if I'm going to do it, might as well do it. Awesome. So I want more power, and since it's going to have an overdrive transmission, I can afford to put a little bit more horsepower in the thing. So I looked at it and I thought, well, screw it. We'll put some aluminum heads on it. We'll put a stroker kit and roller cam, and so I did. Now I looked at, you can buy the Chinese aluminum heads from 440 Source or eBay or all that, which are about $400 for a bare set, because I would not want to buy an assembled set because you got Chinese valves and springs, and nah, it ain't gonna work. So I looked at how much it would cost to get a set of those Chinese heads bare, poured them out, put nice valves, nice valve train in them, and then it's gonna cost me probably around $1,800 for a super nice set of Chinese heads. That flow a lot and are good. And I was like, so I looked online for a set of brand name heads, and shit, for $200 more, I could just buy a set of Trick Flow 240 CNC ported, done, bolt on, ready to go heads for $200 more that will outflow those Chinese heads done. So I'm like, fuck it, $200 more, done. So I bought those. So I have a set of CNC ported Trick Flow 240 cc heads. I bought a 496 stroker kit for the original 383 and roller cam. I got a Hemi oil pan for it. So between the heads, the cam, the stroker kit, which is pretty nice, I upgraded to the better rod bolts. Instead of the 8740s, I got the ARP 2000s. But yeah, I dumped a bunch of money in this motor. The parts haven't even showed up yet, and my wallet's a hell of a lot lighter. So, but it will be about a 600 horsepower, 600 foot-pounds of torque daily driver motor. I mean, just a 230 duration at 50 cam with about a 580 lift. So mileage won't be too bad. It'll still have instant grunt because it's a stroker kit with a fairly mild cam in it. But 600 horse, 600 foot-pounds of torque, overdrive transmission, and it'll look fairly stock. I'm still debating whether I'm going to leave the stock manifolds on or not, because I know that's going to kill a lot, so it might not actually be 600 horse. It's probably going to be like 550, but it's still a lot. Ooh, get all the shade there. So, well, anyways, that's where the turquoise car is sitting right now. I'm going to put the new ram on it, yank the drivetrain out, and then I'm going to save this motor and tranny. This is the numbers matching transmission to this car, but it's not overdrive, and well, yeah, that's pretty much it. It's not overdrive and it's not a lockup converter, so for daily driver stuff, it sucks. Unless you're going to put like a 276 gear in it, but then you're just going to kill all your low-end shit and get-go power, so yeah. It doesn't hurt my feelings not to reuse the non-numbers matching transmission. I will use the numbers matching motor, but the transmission, it doesn't really matter. So I've got a couple cars I might take this drivetrain and just plop it in. Because it's not going to be a daily driver motor anymore, I might as well just yank that sissy cam out and put in a more thumpy cam. Not too much bigger though, just a little bit bigger. But yeah, so let me show you the motor. Yep, everything's gonna get tossed. So I'm still hoping that I can make the Van Nuys show in California with this as a 496 600 horsepower stroker motor and an overdrive transmission in the turquoise car, so we can all cruise it down there. So there's still hopes for that. That's why I just went ahead, buckled down, and bought the shit, get it done, and I can just take the drivetrain out of that car and just drop it in something else. So it actually works good in the long run. The short run costs a bunch of money. In the long run, it'd be way better just to pull this out, put the original motor in, and be done. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the ram on here, get this original motor and tranny out, get that engine on a stand, pull the crankshaft out of it, take it down, get it turned, get new bearings for it, put it back together, and then just set it to the side so I can put the stroker motor in with the overdrive transmission, which I'm going to go to the wrecking yard tomorrow and yank out an overdrive transmission out of a Dakota or a Dodge Ram 93 to 94. So one crappy thing about having to pull the crankshaft out of this thing is I got to take all the front drive accessories off. Water pump, timing chain, damper, alternator. I already took the AC compressor off. Sucks. So, but I'm thinking, since this motor is not going back in this car, it doesn't need to have the wussy cam no more. So we can put in more of a thumper cam. Not too much, but a little bit more of a thumper cam to actually use these heads that are on it, because these heads actually flow pretty good. So no point in having a little wussy cam in it anymore if it doesn't need to be in there. So just gonna finish ripping this sucker apart. Not a whole lot to see, just a whole lot of zap, 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 and parts falling off. So gonna continue on that. Alrighty, well, the dirty part's done. The crank's out. It's sitting here on the ground over here. I'll show you in just a second. But yeah, what I thought was decent bearings, and I just put it back together, because these are Clevite bearings that was rebuilt probably in the early 90s, maybe, sort of, kind of. Yeah, kicked myself in the ass for reusing the freaking bearings, even though I shouldn't have. I was like, fuck it, they look good, we'll reuse them. The crank's already broke into those bearings. Oh, dumbass. Well, I already know, I'm already calling myself a dumbass. Won't do that again. I'll just put new bearings and everything. But, crank's out. I'm just going to go ahead and get new main bearings, new rod bearings. I'm going to go ahead and polish the crank. Well, I got to turn the crank, but I'm just going to polish the mains and turn the rod bearings, or the rod journals. Here, I'll go ahead and show you the journal real quick. Alright, well, here's the journal that is foobarred. It doesn't really, I mean, you can't see how bad it is, but you can probably see that little groove right there. Well, that's actually a hump in the bearing, or in the journal. There's a bearing here, bearing here. Well, it wore down both bearing faces, and it left a hump in the middle. And right now, if I tried to put this motor back together, that's about 7 thousandths bearing clearance. So that's no bueno. It ain't gonna work. So, like I said, take this on down to the machine shop, let them do their thing, and then slap the sucker back together. But everything else looks pretty good. You know, the cam looks like it broken, or it looks like it came in nice. I don't see, there's no flat spotting on the cam. So cam should be good, even though it's wussy. But oh well. Maybe I'll just go ahead and leave that cam in there, since that transmission has already got a torque converter that's kind of set up for this camshaft. I might just leave that cam in there instead of having to buy a new torque converter and all that shit. So, oh wait, what the fuck am I talking about? Never mind. This is going to go behind a 4-speed, so I can put a big cam in it. That's right. I'm going to get that drilled for a 4-speed. So, never mind. We'll go and put a thumper in this sucker. Well, I'm hungry. And hold on a second.